Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about arson kings. Moving people out of the way of progress has been happening since the U.S. government began using war to remove Native American Indians from the land that they wanted for white settlers to have and to support the infrastructure and economy that they had envisioned for this country. It was later done with redlining, zoning, gentrification, and Jim Crow laws that were used on black people after slavery and continues to this day. It was done to Native Hawaiians in Lahaina, Maui. It was done to white people in the mountains of western North Carolina by the way of a weather dominator hurricane to destroy homes, to clear the land for mineral drilling. In California, a high-speed rail has been planned to connect Southern and Northern California. One of the main stumbling blocks to the plan was the homes in the path of the high-speed railway. So, the United Nations Agenda 21 is on a global scale. Agenda 2030 is on a local scale. Those plans are all about scaling global control down to the local level, essentially bringing about neo-feudalism through glorified public-private partnership or pimpships, slowly creating 15-minute cities while carefully pushing people into renting by planned chaos events brought to you by disaster capitalism.
Hold on. Go back to your very, very, very first statement when you said they used war to remove Native Americans off their land. Based on what we're talking about right now, there was a reason for that, which I didn't understand. The reason Great Britain lost the war for our independence so quickly, they had already signed deals with the Native Americans in the area. So they weren't worried about their commerce stopping. They're like, look, hey, let's lose this war to these rejects anyway. This is the exact same situation. Roscoe just gave you all these different examples of why this disaster capitalism is necessary, because it's the way to get people out the way. And what happens is, the other most important part that everybody kept leaving out, Eddie Griffin, you've heard people talk about it. They canceled these people's insurance, homeowners insurance, fire insurance 3 weeks to 3 months ago. It's a lot. I'm sorry.
Palisades, West Hills, Eaton, Altadena. These are the main areas affected by wildfires that have burned up the northern and far northeast sections of Los Angeles in early January of this year. On Tuesday, January 7th, 5 men were spotted in the Palisades on a trail right before a fire had started. They had come running down the hill as soon as the fire was started. On that same day, a man was spotted in Woodland Hills attempting to start fires with a handheld propane blowtorch. Now, this guy, when he was apprehended by the police, his pockets were empty. And in his pockets, there were several cell phones, and there was a debit card that was issued by the United Nations. Now, go back 6 to 7 months. When people are talking about these gangs from Venezuela and they're talking about these immigrants doing all this wild stuff before the elections, right? And you hear these conversations that would be online with these rideshare drivers, and these rideshare drivers are talking about how they would get these people in their cars that they would drop off, and they were foreigners from foreign countries. Because they spoke Spanish or these other languages, they were able to breach the language barrier. And so these people from these other countries told them they were given a stipend to come to America, and they were given a card, a debit card that was issued by the United Nations. So, of course, when you need soldiers to go into an American area in the United States and lock something down, they're not going to use soldiers from that area. What they do is they take the National Guard troop from that area and they send them overseas. They won't send them to their home areas to protect their home areas because there's too much emotional attachment. They send them way overseas to fight some shit, and then they bring in United Nations troops, or they bring in these fall guys. Instead of troops, they have these contractors. Think of like a military contractor like Blackwater, you know what I'm saying? Well, that's these guys, but they're not really trained though, but they're military age, so it means they're influenceable, right? They then give them money. They find poor guys that need money, so they give them some money and they say, hey, here's a cell phone, here's a couple cell phones, but we're going to call you on this phone. This phone always needs to be on. And when it's time for you to rock and roll, you need to go do what we tell you to do. So this guy was caught. And he was like, he was saying, I have to do this. I have to do this. Why would somebody with so much conviction be that committed to starting a fire unless they had been MK Ultra, mind controlled, or some type of hemisphere in their brain had been set up with some like remote hemisync thing programming that's going on that they don't know about.
Or family blackmailing back home. It doesn't matter the reason. The video I saw had, he was Spanish, here was his shovel, and had the butane torch in his hand. And those local guys had caught him. But there was a dumpster behind him that was already set on fire, like with cardboard and shit in it. Look, what we're trying to tell you people is that the fix was already, these people are already embedded in our society. They're already over here. They're living their lives until they're called upon to do some crazy shit. We keep yelling MK Ultra, or we keep yelling Manchurian Candidate. I get it. Those are probably before most of your times. But these are different situations.
But now these things have been shrunken down to the size of a waveform that can be played subsonically on your phone when you're not even aware of this. Man, people have been turning phones on and off. These companies turn phones on and off since the late 90s, when people had black and white screens on their phone and they are flip phones, or the unibody Nokia phone, okay, 3390. And if you had a 3390, you know that sometimes your shit would just turn off and then turn back on.
The worst one I had was I called you one time and took a picture of my cell phone. I was like, hey, Roscoe, I'm at work. This is about 7 years ago. A little satellite thing kept popping up on my cell phone that I'd never seen before. I had some kind of Android phone. I'm like, look, somebody need to tell me what this is. It's never been. It was broadcasting without my permission, kind of thing.
So, okay, you're saying a satellite thing. That means an emoji or like a little icon, a satellite icon, which means it was built into that phone. Period. Which meant that was already there and they were aware of it ahead of time and they knew that, hey, we got to do this continuity of government bullshit or whatever on these motherfuckers' phones, and we're going to do that.
I just sent you a video the other day of Gavin Newsom's $9 million house. It had a blue
roof.
Yes. Now,
where'd you see the blue roofs at the last time?
Come on, say it.
Lahaina.
Lahaina. Look, we've seen this before. Now, so when you sit here and see a couple saboteurs, please don't think that those are the guys who started the initial fires. We all saw the satellite footage of 3 major fires starting simultaneously. If you go look at the satellite footage of that area, they all started at the same time. Now, you have people with videos showing blue and green lasers from the sky. Don't know if that's true. You trust me, we both know that you can do anything with AI now. But the fact of the matter is, you got people with real footage showing you this shit. You got people saying that, hey, this is just like Maui. This is just like Lahaina. This is just because I just think it's odd. Why would Gavin Newsom have a blue roof? Either the laser doesn't affect it, or that lets the guy shooting the motherfucker laser. Hey, don't shoot this motherfucker. He one of us. So what we're trying to tell you is, yeah, there's a bunch of saboteurs out there. Yeah, and Roscoe talked about, he said some deep shit last week. He said all these podcasts and all these guys out there, everybody's attacking different subject matter. You got one guy showing the firemen with purses putting out fires. You got another guy saying that, hey, it was all about inclusion. They hired a bunch of...
None of that matters.
Hold it. I think it's just opposite. It all matters because it all made this possible. They're all mad at that mayor out there for cutting the...
Who was on vacation. How is it these mayors and these governors are magically on vacation when these disasters happen? It happened in Lahaina, Maui. It happened here. It's so funny. What if your mayor is going on vacation? Your governor is going on vacation. Batten the fucking hatches. Batten the hatches because some shit is about to go down.
If your governor and mayor are always on vacation, trust me. Or if they're going on vacation, that's so they don't be there when the shit goes down. But what we're saying, listen to me carefully. So you had the head of the fire department who was LGBTQ or whatever. They're so proud of her. Then you got the mayor cutting the budget by like $43 million, some crazy. Please forgive me, I don't want to quote the number. I heard it was a high number. And then on top of that, we just also talked about how these insurance companies were cutting people's homeowners insurance. So you can't tell me the fix wasn't in. And when I say the fix is in, maybe that governor don't know. Maybe that fire chief, she ain't aware of what they're trying to do. But when somebody backs you too much, when somebody backs your agenda like this, they got their own agenda. When the powers that be like, hey man, shit, you slashed the budget by $43 million, shit, that's awesome. No. They're proud of you because you're making it easier for them to do what the fuck they're trying to do. And Roscoe told you, their biggest thing right now is that rail and that fucking 15-minute city shit. And they're doing this. And now when this is over, like the rich folks, those movie stars, they might be able to rebuild, but the average motherfucker can't rebuild. And here's the other part: these rich people, they're tired of rebuilding. So why would they rebuild?
But where are they going to live while their house is burnt down? They're going to rent. So what's happening is they need to like get in some place right now. So between them going from the hotel to the rental property or the house they're going to buy, these houses are being jacked up by jackals, real estate jackals. These slumlords are renting these places at $1,000 more than they should be.
Everybody making money.
And selling the house at like twice the amount that it's worth. So the Eaton fires burned 13,956 acres. The largest of the fires was the Palisade fires. Those actually started first. But people find it weird that some of these other fires started simultaneously. So it started on Tuesday, the 7th of January, and burned over 20,000 acres by Friday, the 10th.
Hey, the part I left out, I saw a video, again, I forgot her lady's name. She lives in the area. She said Palisades was already evacuated before the fire started. Before all this shit went down.
What also is weird about this is the fact that the winds were 70 to 75 miles an hour. The same speed the winds were in Lahaina, Maui when the fire started there. So you have to have these right conditions for these arsonists to work or these direct energy weapons to work. So Altadena is an area that saw many African Americans buying homes there in the 40s, 50s, and 60s because of redlining in other parts of the Los Angeles area. They are a very proud legacy of generational families in Altadena, and they have passed their homes down from family member to family member, and they have a strong opinion about Altadena never changing versus a number of new families who have moved into the area because it's quote-unquote more affordable than Pasadena in some places, which is close by.
It's a black area. It's a classical black area. These folks have been there for years.
It's a working-class black neighborhood with a lot of working-class, middle-class, and upper-middle-class black families. So in Altadena, there is a mural on North Lake Boulevard, and it says, "Greetings from Altadena." Within the letter D is a portrait of Charles White, a local artist who conveyed black history in his work. A local park is named after him. The E in the Greetings from Altadena is Octavia Butler, a science fiction author who is buried at the Altadena cemetery that caught fire.
Yeah, she's a science fiction writer, been around for years.
Long time. And, well, if you know about like real black sci-fi, she's like the grandma of that shit. So, unlike Pasadena, Altadena has no police or fire department. The residents rely on county resources. Among the varied architecture, craftsman, English Tudor, colonial, ranch style, and mid-century homes, old mansions and bungalows are also there. So what's strange about all this is that also like the Lahaina Maui situation, there was no pressure or water at the fire,
the locations.
Yeah. Well, no. At the fire hydrants, there was no water, there was no pressure because the reservoir had been drained months before. So that area had seen 8 months of no rain. Even though this is supposed to be the rainy season, it's a drought now. So the fire began on Tuesday. The National Guard arrived Thursday night, stationed at barricades near the Altadena neighborhood, and blocked people from entering the neighborhoods. So this can be seen as a good thing or a bad thing. It can be good because it's preventing looters from going in and stealing shit, which actually did happen, right?
Yeah.
If you see those motherfuckers, just shoot them. Like, ain't no question, just fucking shoot their ass. So I want to talk a little bit about how movies portray some of these things that these people are experiencing right now. The 2011 movie Margin Call takes place in an investment bank and covers a dramatic 24 hours before the financial crisis begins of 2008. The film deals solely with bankers, and there isn't a clear bad guy versus good guy narrative. The 2014 movie 99 Homes is about the 2008 housing crisis. It's inspired by real events during the housing crisis, showing the emotional toll of foreclosure and ethical dilemmas faced by its characters. The movie is about a man that takes a job with the real estate broker who actually evicted him and his mother. That character that evicted him is the real estate broker, Rick Carver. And he's quoted as saying, "Don't get emotional about real estate." He says that throughout the movie 99 Homes, as people are forcibly evicted after defaulting on bank payments. Rick Carver may have practical advice considering the economic crash and the housing crisis, but is also heartless. Real estate to Rick Carver means money and opportunity. Real estate to everyone else means home.
Home, yes, that's where you live.
What is more emotional to human beings than the concept of home? Any hard economic time will create a man like Rick Carver, determined to make more money off the slump than the boom. The fires in Altadena and Eaton and Palisades will create real estate brokers like Rick Carver. They will be showing up to quickly buy burned down homes for cheap from families that lost their fire insurance 3 months ago before the fires happened, and now they don't have the money or the savings to rebuild their homes.
Or if they do, they don't want to rebuild there. And that's a stolen legacy. Altadena was a perfect situation where, again, they don't have their own fire department. They don't all have their own socialism resources sitting there, but they were using the county fire hydrants and everything else. So yeah, it was a perfect storm for that shit to happen.
The 2015 movie The Big Short is about 4 men who predict the housing crisis and decide how to bet against big banks before their inevitable collapse. So there's 3 different movies you can watch. You can watch Margin Call, The Big Short, or 99 Homes. Now, let's talk about the Texas freeze power outage that happened in the year 2020. And weather control was used to bring freezing temperatures down to Texas. Texas has an electric grid infrastructure that is separate from the rest of the United States. Texas was not prepared for extreme cold weather, and they had no energy reserves for a situation like that, and the grid failed.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when everybody was buying those Ford trucks because they had a generator in back, and I remember that. Yeah, that's recent.
So because of that, there were people who were without power, and it was a disaster. So in those type of situations, you have these disaster capitalists that swoop in and make money. This is based on an ideology that was laid down by a man called Milton Friedman, who is the father of neoliberalism. And he wrote a book called Freedom and Capitalism in 1962.
Yeah.
In that book, he lays out the blueprints for disaster capitalism. And he is quoted as saying, "Only a crisis, be it actual or perceived, produces real change. When that crisis occurs, the actions that are taken depend on the ideas that are laying around." The result of the Iraq War in 2003 was the appearance of disaster capitalism on the world stage. So it had taken at least 41 years for it to finally take hold. The environment had to be created that would allow disaster capitalism to grow and then flourish.
Okay, here's the big issue with Milton Friedman. He was warning people about that. He didn't agree with it. He's the one that argued. Who's the fat guy that did? Can't think of his name. He was a kid arguing with Friedman about stuff. Friedman was like, no, we want a free society. We want capitalism to be legitimate. We don't want government involvement. We don't want all these fixes that you're putting in place, because if you do that, then there are certain people. He broke this shit down.
But you got to understand, though, like, he developed a group of people, of students, graduate students, that worshiped him, and they were called the Chicago Boys.
Yes.
And one of these Chicago Boys became a professor who taught a student named Barack Obama.
Oh my God! Look, this shit is so but here's the problem: they warped his message. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is they warned about this. They saw that you could not waste a fucking catastrophe is a way to make money. That's not how life should be. Don't get me wrong. There's always somebody out there trying to take advantage of shit. But like I said,
Rahm Emanuel is known for saying, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste."
Go to waste. Yes.
That's the person who thinks like a disaster capitalist.
Like I said, don't get me wrong. When shit goes bad, yeah, there's always an opportunity there. But you shouldn't. You should not revel in it. You should not be, oh, this is great. That's what these motherfuckers are doing. Bottom line, they're using this to implement all their plans. And we see this shit coming. We saw it a mile away. And we were warned about it. Same way Kennedy warned us about foreign wars and foreign shit. We were warned about all these different things. I think Gerald Ford had warned about, we were warned about different things. And now, instead of us taking action, we admire these rich people way too much, who didn't work very hard, who weren't. Everybody loves Elon. Elon, he jumps back and forth every week. He's a fucking evil guy one week. He's a good guy the next.
Him and Vivek got busted with these visas, these immigration visas they were trying to get for these Indian workers from India, tech workers, to come in and work for super cheap. And it was 100% exploitation. And so, and then they walk back their statements a week later when all this pushback shows up, calling both of these guys scumbags for exploiting these people from India. Basically, the Home Depot Mexican version of a tech worker.
These guys have the same degrees as us, and they'll sit there and do the job for literally $10 an hour, where that's a $40 an hour job. That's damn near a $95,000 a year job. These cats are doing it for $30,000. But it's wrong when somebody else does it. It's wrong when we have Mexicans work for free or work for damn near slavery, picking lettuce. But then, it's okay to get an Indian guy to do it. And like I said, a lot of these companies fired a lot of people thinking that AI was going to work. Look, they're creating such a lower class that, yeah, we're going to see people killing people real soon if we don't step in and do something. And also on the flip side, I think that a lot of these companies understand that, and they're going to have to raise wages. That's why you got people like Warren Buffett selling off their shares in Apple and Nvidia and whatever else, because they're like, look, we're going to need cash, because this market, when they start paying these people, the stock price is going to go down, and we're going to buy.
But what he does is he sells it, and then once it goes down, he buys it back for cheaper.
With the same money. But okay, when we say buy back cheaper, he's buying more shares of that company. So please, people, understand what's happening. So you have 100,000 shares, and you see the market about to drop. So you sell your 100,000 shares. You wait for the market to drop because there's so much shit going on. Next thing you know, it's down to $2. Now you're that same $100 would you had that money, you take that and buy 10,000 more shares than you had before. You have a much better position in that company. So when you talk about disaster capitalism, they're thinking of the wildfires. They're thinking of earthquakes. Disaster capitalism can be just a company going, a damn recession is disaster capitalism. In fact, you learn this shit when you're in school. They say, hey, don't buy into this blood on the floor. What they're saying is, when there's a recession, when they're saying it's so bad that people are starving, that's when you start buying stock, because you'll buy that stock. These people might die off, but it should work itself out. And next thing you know, you're a billionaire, trillionaire, whatever kind of air there is. So, again, when we say disaster capitalism is not just literally a disaster. Anything could be considered a disaster, and they're taking advantage of it. They all do it. They just didn't give it a name until the 70s.
In the 2000 book titled "The Shock Doctrine," Naomi Klein illustrates how exactly disaster capitalism was applied to the war in Iraq. After a war, disaster, terrorist attack, stock market crash, national disaster, the mass confusion and disorientation of the public is exploited. Extreme changes to privacy, it could be a pandemic, or changes to a free market policies, and even police procedures the suspension of democracy. They're all enacted to benefit a very, very small group of venture capitalists and investment firms. Privatization and austerity are used to exploit middle class and poor people for profit. Keep in mind that these ultra-rich people want to be around people like themselves. It is that motivation that was behind the creation of eugenics. So what you have here is these people are playing Monopoly with everybody else's money, making themselves rich, and they then make you suffer, and they create all these things that are meant to create a bigger gap between them and us. They call that austerity. I first heard that word austerity when the Obama administration was talking about right after, I think it was the beginning of his second term. And there was a dip in the financial markets. And he's talking about, oh, there's going to be austerity measures. I'm like, for what? Why the fuck do we got to suffer for these mistakes that these people are making?
Those are the measures that stop it from happening. Those are the ones where we need to spread.
But it's a problem that they created, is my point.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, no. You're being very, very eloquent. He's sitting here complaining about something they created. But that goes back to our benign neglect. That he's saying, like, oh, we're worried about the problems of the poor. We're worried about the problems of the lower class because the gap is getting wider. So what we're going to do is spread the money evenly. That's called socialism and all the other isms. The fact of the matter is, if you hadn't created the situation, we wouldn't have the problem. And that's why what you're saying is so important, is that just because a motherfucker brings it up doesn't mean they're going to do some shit about it. Just because a motherfucker says that, hey, man, I'm sorry that you're going through that. But then they sit here and give you more hours. So you got to work through your son's funeral. Yeah, saying one thing and doing something different. Actions are what's important, not words. Obama was slinging words like a motherfucker. but
they put him there because they needed a smooth talker. They needed a smooth talker to get everybody calm while all the bullshit was being set up in the background that nobody was paying attention to until it became a huge financial mess.
Yes. Look.
And also that we're dealing with now, which that administration allowed during the National Defense Authorization Act, allowed for propaganda to be used in the news media and all social media platforms.
Look, like I said, disaster capitalism is not just a flood. Disaster capitalism is not just an earthquake. Disaster capitalism is not just a wildfire. It's when you create anything that impacts so many people negatively at one point in time that you're able to take advantage of them financially. Or in this case, the advantage is not just the money, it's pushing through an agenda. It's pushing through 2025, 2030, and whatever else. In California, like I said, they want that 15-minute city shit. Do you know why they want it so bad? It's because it didn't work anywhere else. So they're going to create a situation where it becomes fashionable.
But you have to understand that these are all based on ideological warfare. And this is social engineering. And what is the ideology that's driving this? Look to the United Nations. That will show you where they're going to go with it, how they're thinking about it, how far out they're thinking about it, how many decades out they're thinking about it.
Before the United Nations, you had the League of Nations that tried the same shit, and they were clobbered, they were killed over it. It was gotten rid of because I'm like, nah, we don't want that. The whole world stood up against them. But now you have the United Nations, and people act like, when I was a kid, we learned about that in social studies. You think the United Nations is a good guy? No, they're not. They got a nice name, but they're not good guys. So that's the biggest issue.
But who runs the United Nations? All the heads of states from these countries. And these heads of state are doing the biddings of monarchs and the ruling class in their country. They may parade around like, oh, we're helping the poor people, creating sustainable. They have these buzzwords that they use.
Don't forget about State Street, BlackRock.
And these words that they use will tell you what is going on with them. Sustainability. Well, my man, maintain is something that black people have been doing for centuries, for thousands of years. So you don't have to rename that shit something that sounds fancy. See, this is the thing. Whenever you hear words that sound more fancy than they need to be, it's reimagined. Oh, this is a reimagined version of this. Hold on a second. You mean you remixing something? You mean you're rewriting something. You're changing some shit. Why are you changing it? Oh, well, it's good to reimagine. Oh, no. All that slick talking, you can stop that right now.
Because people won't fall for it no more. They recognize, oh, this is some bullshit. Let's get the fuck out of here. We ain't doing this no more. Oh, no. We're going to reimagine it. Snow White, now she's a black lady. No. It's the same thing, same problem, same script. Just because you change the characters and players doesn't mean you change the outcome. That's what we care about. What's more important than anything else is the outcome, not what they see. That's how we get fucked up in this.
But here's the thing, though: the Snow White chick with the Jewish last name and the Puerto Rican face, she before the movie was even made, she started running her fucking mouth and saying all this shit that people was not trying to hear, and I'm like, bitch, you too loud. You way too loud. And they pulled the movie. The movie has not seen the light of day since this chick would not shut the fuck up about talking her politics. And I'm like, yo, you fucking up your paycheck and other people's paychecks.
What the thing is, what they think, what they care about, they think other people care about. Or worse, they think they're smarter than what they are. There's so many movie stars that I thought was
I'm going to tell you some bullshit when you hear it. Is when a person says they holding space, yo man, like that's some phony shit.
What the fuck is that? Hey, please help me out.
Bro, that's big. You hear that down here a lot. You know what I'm saying? You hear it around these crunchy granola motherfuckers and
nigga,
wannabe Hotep motherfuckers. And I ain't even talking about the prison Hotep motherfuckers. I'm talking about wannabe Hotep motherfuckers.
What kind of defeatist attitude shit are you talking?
So hey, Yeah, you're saying you're holding space. Oh, well, we're just say you're paying tribute to somebody. You don't have to call it something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're holding space for this. They were using that term like in this new Wizard of Oz movie. You know what I'm saying? With the black chick who's green, the witch, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, so you basically got her playing the ugly duckling, and feeling bad for herself, and we're holding space and like when you watch the interviews for like these actors that are talking about this movie, and it's like all this fluffy fluff nonsense, and I'm like, you up your own ass, man. Like, you stop with this bullshit.
Okay, slow down. So what's happening is all these movies and things we grew up on, the villain is now they're rewriting history to where the villain was just a misunderstood person.
Listen. When people talk about like holding space, that means they're willing to talk about something, but they're not willing to die over it. Yeah. They're not ride or die. These are not ride or die people talking about they holding space for some shit.
But that's the difference between how we grew up. Like, you can be successful now. Like, me and you, if we're millionaires, if you say the right thing, I ain't marching. I'm killing. You understand what I'm saying? If I see the right situation, that's what made America special. The Minutemen, nigga, they was normal motherfuckers. They was farmers. They were blacksmiths. But if the British were coming, nigga, you dropped your hammer and grabbed your gun, or you grabbed your hammer and your gun. They were willing to defend what they had here because it was that important. These motherfuckers ain't like that. These niggas is all talk, and they'll talk some good shit. They might even drop some key words, but they ain't gonna put up hands. That's the whole issue with this whole world. At some point in time, talking stops, action starts. And based on my situation, that action is either violence, I'm beating somebody's ass. That action is, hey, get my shit together, get my money up, and get the fuck out this country. That action, but words without action ain't shit. They just emotions. Not everything deserves emotion. Some shit deserves an actual physical response to things. And that's why we're here right now. This disaster politics is what we're talking about. We're trying to explain to you, like, hey, from now on, when people give you a legitimate warning about this shit is coming, it doesn't mean wait for it. It means change your behavior so people can't do that or they can't use it against you. That's what this is about. Like I said, that when you talk about this, the next action should be changing your behavior, insulating yourself and your country so this shit can't go down. Don't you agree? What the fuck?
So the thing that people need to be on the lookout for are invaders that come around looking like you but talk some phony shit and willing to do anything to get ahead. That's how you catch these people in advance before you get into a situation where you have motherfuckers like Drake. You know what I'm saying? Or, this crazy shit like that. What I'm talking about, though, are on a real world, not entertainment. I was joking when I said that, but in a real world situation.
It's a real example. It's a real example.
But in real world examples where it's about your house, it's about what's going on at the school for your kids. These type of situations where you can't speak out or you'll be on the FBI watch list. What? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You know what I'm saying?
If you buy 5, I don't, please forgive me, I think it's 5 guns within a month or 10 guns within a month, you go on the ATF watch list. What kind of shit is that? I bought the 5 guns in a month, but that's the kind of shit we're talking about. They're vilifying normal behavior, and then they're escalating savage, disgusting behaviors. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is the world we're living in right now. So let's not stop cutting everybody a break. Some people deserve what they got. And on the same token, we see all the things that took place for LA to get fucked up.
Exactly. But they're what they're doing is, like I said at the beginning of this episode, they are moving people out of the way. Period. So they can lay the foundation to build the world that they want, that they're going to push you into to control you. Because like I said, listen, a lot of those people that got those houses burnt up in Los Angeles, they don't have the money to fix those houses.
No matter how rich they are, you don't have 9-10 million to fix your own shit. But hold it, go. Let's go back to the beginning of this. What made Roscoe want to talk about this is all these different people arguing about different aspects of this, as if that was the ultimate goal. LBGTQ. Nobody cares about a gay chief of the fire department. It's not a big deal. I get it.
What's crazy about what she said though is that, somebody said, well, that she can't pick up a man and carry him out of a burning house. And then the bitch says, well, he shouldn't be in that situation in the first place. How do you have that job and you're even thinking that way? Okay, because you want barbecue from G.I. Joe to bust down the fucking door and carry everybody the fuck out of a burning building or show them the way out. Because he is a guy, listen, there's guys that run from the fire and there's guys that run to the fire.
Okay.
A firefighter runs to the fire and even into the fire to save people.
Rocco. I wasn't trying to go there. When we were in high school, I saw there was a black chick. She was like she was the first female fire person in this area, and they tried to do an interview with her. She was so proud she got the job, and then fast forward. So they do this interview. Don't you need more women in this? And she's like, look. What they were trying to do was try to get them to lower the standards of the test. She said, that will kill people. She said, I can lift 250 pounds on my back. She was a good-looking black chick, muscular. But she's like, if you lower the standards, that costs people's lives. You have to be able to lift a 250-pound man on your back to have this job.
That means she can squat 250 pounds, basically.
Well, firemen's carry. Doesn't matter. But the point is, you don't lower the standards. I get it. What I get tired of is they keep trying to do this LGBTQ thing and equate it to black folks. Being the first black person here, it's not the fucking same. Either you can do the job or you can't. Lowering the standards to get people in a job is a problem. Now, you got to understand how I get affirmative action. You had to do that shit because you were dismantling a fucked up system that was protecting white men, then white women, et cetera, et cetera. That's one thing. This LGBTQ thing ain't the same thing, but you're cramming it down our throats as if it is. So when this woman's, as my brother just said, when they ask, well, what do you do if a guy's in a burning? So what happens if you have a fire engine with nothing but gays on it, and they show up and they can't lift anybody, they can't hold the hose, and they can't. It's not about getting inclusion all the time. Inclusion was cool when it came to black folks and Native Americans and shit, that people that y'all relegated to a different status just so you can advance yourself. It's not the same fight. So, but what I'm really worried about is the fact that all these different things happen to make this happen, and nobody can see from their end. I get it. there's a big picture that people talk about. Sometimes that little picture is very clear too. Like, okay, you want a bunch of LGBTQ in the fire department. Why? I get it. If that's where you want to go and you can pass the test, cool. But just putting somebody there for the sake of putting somebody there, that's what you say, bro. Holding space. Hey man, I'm just holding space. That's
Yeah,
bullshit.
but what does that also sound like? Taking up space.
Yes, you're stopping somebody who can use that job, who wants that job, and can do the job. But again, I have no problem with nobody being gay or straight. That's not what I'm
Listen,
going
man,
with.
like I understand, when people say we're holding space, it's the modern day version of recognize. Dude, it's fine, but it's not fine. Okay?
Back in the day, we used to say marinating. Hey, what's up? Hey, I'm just marinating, nigga. It was a funny thing. It was cool. It was a West Coast phrase. But at some point in time, as I matured, I'm like, that's some bullshit. Nigga, that means I'm just simmering on the pot. I ain't cooking and I ain't getting done. I'm just sitting here. That's forgive me. Look, those are the people who allowed this shit to happen, who were holding space and not doing what they were supposed to do, not speaking. Like you said, what was deep. Roscoe just said, them people want to have a conversation, but they don't want to do nothing physical. They just want to, hey man, the rectal and
Right. Meanwhile, they make a whole bunch of money from all these donors who give them, all Black Lives Matter women. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit over and over and over.
I just think it's crazy how that shit how them niggas really died out. Just died out.
Not a
There's
peep.
no, yeah,
In what, 2 years?
3.5 maybe, but they're gone. But that money, that $2 billion that Soros gave them, they still spending it. You know what I'm saying? But that's crazy. They ain't no black person benefited from Black Lives Matter movement. Oh, excuse me,
I bet you if
organization.
you see one of them hoes, they going to pull up to a handicap parking spot with a handicap plate, walking out of that car perfectly fine.
In a Bentley. Fuck y'all. Look, what we're trying to say is that a lot of people were attacking the wrong things when it came to this shit, and I don't think people understand how big and broad this thing was and how long it was going on. Like, did they plan for it to happen this year? I don't know, but these things were put in place a long time ago because they wanted one thing to happen. Then all of a sudden, people have these different movements that I don't think they realize are affecting a big picture. They're like, oh shit, they're gonna give it to us anyway. We just sit back. Then when you look at that satellite picture and you see 3 fires happening at the exact same time, unrelated, don't make any sense. Now you got saboteurs from 4 countries, setting little fires here and there, and you're blaming that motherfucker knowing good and damn well whatever took place came from the sky and happened all at the same time.
See, that's a good point because nobody has said anything about DEWs.
Yes.
Nothing.
No. People. No, a lot of people have. A lot of people are saying it, and like I told you, they even say they even got videos and pictures of shit they say is a directed energy weapon or whatever. But I can't prove it. Don't know. Whatever. The bottom line is we know the fix is in, that there was a bigger picture. Somebody up top did this shit, and now there's a bunch of little guys running around setting little fires.
But that's the whole thing I'm getting at is that all of these events, the fires in Maui, the hurricane in the mountains of North Carolina, which is fucking ridiculous, and then you have the wildfires that are happening in California, not even in fire season, that start simultaneously. All these things are being done to move people out of the wildlands, quote unquote, right, away from natural areas. Because if you look at Altadena is at the foothills of a set of mountains, right? That's prime real estate, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. We got to get them out of there because we got to bring our train line through that area so it can go down to Burbank and then into Los Angeles.
Look,
because if you overlay the high speed rail map, the proposed rail map, and you overlay it with the burn areas where all these fires have been happening, they're pretty damn close, man.
Look, like I said, the biggest thing I want to give you credit for, Roscoe, when you said, hey, this is the rainy season. This is the winter time. This is when California gets rainy this time of year. Everybody. So if, even if you don't believe there's weather control, there's something going on where normally this will be a deluge, a downpour. I even talked to my family out there. They said rain's coming next week, but they're like, I'm like, it's enough. She said we normally get 2 or 3 inches at one time. We don't know. They're not talking about that much rain. So I just want to give you props for pointing that out. This was a rainy season.
Here's another thing. All these fires happened within minutes of the ocean. And when I say minutes, I'm talking about a helicopter or an airplane can fly from the beach to any of these fires within 10 minutes.
You've seen the forest fires when they get.
But listen, this is the deal. The reason why they said they didn't want to use salt water is because it would mess up the pumps. So you're telling me that these pumps that would pump the water through the system, you're more concerned about these pumps costing you $20 million versus $5-10 billion of damage and loss of life in real estate?
How about when we were kids and we watched the helicopter go to a lake, pick up gallons of water, and just dump it on the fire? They don't want to be successful. Figure it out.
That's what I'm saying. That was the first thing that came to mind, is having these planes and helicopters scoop up this ocean water and just dump it on the fires.
Like I said, the fire was success, not putting the fire out.
The fire was a success because it cleared the path for... See, the thing is that these real estate brokers, like this Rick Carver character in this movie, 99 Homes, those guys are the foot soldiers of the disaster capitalists. Yeah. Because then you got to wonder, how does Blackwater and Vanguard factor into this? Because they are going to buy up the real estate. They're going to be these smaller companies. They have umbrella companies, smaller companies under their umbrella that they use to go and buy the stuff. So they're the Renfield for all these Draculas.
Yes.
That go out there and get these women, or, they get the secure the area for, the vampire to go to and post up. That's what they're doing for Vanguard. These guys, these real estate brokers that are popping up, they're going to buy up all listen, they were there the second day, third day, fourth day. Yep. The house is still smoking. And he's like, who lives here? Let me see if I can find these people. Are these people in a hotel? They probably went to the hotels. This is what they did. They went and looked at the houses that burnt down, looked at the land, and then they found the nearest hotels, and they paid the front desk person, hey, give me all the names of the people that checked in and told you a sob story at the counter, or people who looked like they had just been hit by a nuclear bomb. I want the room number for each and every one of those people. I'm going to tell you how I know this shit. Because there was a plane crash a long time ago, and somebody I cared about died in that plane crash. And I went to the plane crash site, and at the hotel I was staying at, you would come downstairs and there would be lawyers in the lobby. This was like in the late 90s. So CNN, the news, everybody was calling the hotel room trying to talk to me and her family, and they were trying to talk to us. When we would come outside, I almost decked the fucking cameraman in the fucking airport because he wouldn't get the fuck out of my face. Lawyers were just waiting. They call them ambulance chasers.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You see these guys, anytime there's a tragedy, they just pop up and they're like, I'm so sorry. And they come to you, all like, so, sympathetic. Oh, here's my card. Man. Call me if you want to talk about, the settlement and this and that and the third. And I'm like, man.
But see, that was the point I was making before. When you hear disaster or capitalism, you think of all this other disaster. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be a natural disaster. It's just a fucking disaster, just a negative event that they want to make money on.
Right. But what I'm telling you is that these events are planned. because they have to think about the long game.
Yep.
They got to think about minerals, natural resources, and infrastructure. And a train is part of infrastructure. Minerals in North Carolina is natural resources. Real estate in Maui, that's for all types of different things.
Yeah, we don't know what the long game is. It could just be rich folks, or it could be
no. So don't say that. Don't say we don't know what the long game is, because we do, and I keep repeating it to you over and over. It's Agenda 21 on the global scale and Agenda 2030. But the way you connect those two together, the global and the local, is with these things called private public partnerships. And it's how they create the language that people will use, the buzzwords that people will use, and they will basically MK Ultra, Jim Jones these people with brainwashing and make you think that global warming is the reason for these fires, because these motherfuckers are gaslighting you. They're gaslighting you and also using benign neglect.
Look, hey, I think that's it. What you think? We done told y'all.
No. But this is the whole thing, though, is that everybody, I'm going to tell you to not get caught up in the small details that sound like it would be important. The firefighters, listen. Do not get mad at the people that are fighting the fires. Do not get mad at the police. Do not get mad at anybody unless they have any real power. So that's a mayor, that's a governor, and that's people who are on boards that provide funds for things that will help or hurt you. That's the problem. That's the thing that we're running into, is that everybody hears all these talking points. They hear all these talking points on these different shows and on social media, and you see all this stuff. Man, I got to tell you, that whole suggested thing for you on Twitter, I don't even look over there, because it's a doom scroll. You're just doom scrolling. It's just negative shit. I'm like, hey, that's way too much. I spot it right away, because on my side, I'm very careful about the shit that I pick, and then I delete the search history. And then on the other side, I'm like, what kind of bullshit they got over here? It's all negative ass shit. It's a bunch of black people tearing each other down. It's petty ass nonsense. It's stuff that's created by bots, because you got to remember that when you're getting some of this stuff about the fire, not all of that stuff is generated by people. That's the dangerous part.
Look, hold
on a second. We, on this same show, we have said in previous episodes how there is a danger in the present and near future of AI generating news stories.
We know it's coming. Look, how about this? How many black folks are upset that they shut down TikTok now in America? And all of them.
I don't give a fuck.
No. I didn't say you did, my brother.
No, but this is the thing, though. White people are going to be just so beside themselves, because they won't have any black kids teaching them how to dance, and teaching them dance moves, because those black creators, they boycotted that shit for a week, 2 weeks, and there was just all these pitiful white kids trying to dance, and I'm like,
Hey, the big thing with me and my wife talked about with that shit was how many black content creators now don't have access to content, but TikTok is still making money on their content. Y'all should have been erasing that shit months ago. As soon as they said,
you said how many black content creators have what?
Said their content is still on TikTok. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't own none of that shit.
And TikTok is making money on it around the world, and you ain't gonna get a dime. So trust me, this whole TikTok thing, they were spying on us. They sat there, and when Rogan broke that shit down, I read that shit. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this. They want access to all the things in your house, all your electronic devices. They were asking for permission.
Those are things that go forgotten, that people would just forget about. And I'm like, TikTok was exposed. All the tea was spilled, and they were exposed about how they want access to all your devices. Why? Why are you so fucking nosy?
And people don't look. Look, we got to wrap this up. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is people literally will argue for their own demise. Do you understand what I'm saying? People will sit here and put up like, hey, man, that's not a good idea. Man, this is my property. Leave me alone. Now let me go. No, TikTok does not belong to you. They even
But here,
said
hold on a second. Wait. This is what I'm going to say. So MySpace was used to blow up a lot of bands and singers and musicians and get their music out there. But your music still belonged to you. So
yeah.
Whenever you put music online, you have to make sure that music is copyrighted. There is an urge when you make some dope shit to play it for other people.
You want everybody to hear it.
Right. But you can't, you got to hold your fire. You got to copyright that shit first. You got to copyright it and make sure it's protected so that when you put it online, if they try to use it, you be like, hold up, habeas corpus, bitch. Hold up.
Look, I'm just tired of people defending their oppressor. TikTok was your oppressor. TikTok literally, the algorithm in China sent, it was all kind of educated stuff to those kids. Like, hey, do good schoolwork. This is the number one math genius in the area. You should do better than him. Not on ours. TikTok is motherfuckers getting slapped and shit, running around in circles, circling the block and killing each other, or doing the new dance,
slapping old people at grocery stores.
I would beat the
dude. Have you ever come across anything like that?
No, not in my life. No, sir.
Have you ever? But listen though, have you ever been to the store and seen like some little knucklehead kid seem like he was up to no good?
Oh, okay. You when we were kids, you see that kind of stuff. We're adults now. I hear how bad kids are, and I know how bad my kids are. I've dealt with the shit, but there's certain barriers that
you know how like the walls are built, like when you go into like Target and the toys are like on those little like metal walls with the hooks coming out.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is just tackle a motherfucker into one of those walls. That's all you got to do. If you wanted to stop, just fucking plunge him. You know what I'm saying? Like just fork his ass, trident that motherfucker into one of those walls. Now the wall's gonna come over. It's gonna fall down.
Spear that nigga right into the wall.
But he's gonna get impaled.
But here's the thing. One reason me and you don't see that shit is we don't hang out at malls. A lot of that stuff you see happens at malls. I'm not at a mall. And the reason I'm not at a mall for two reasons. One, I don't like a lot of people anymore. When my
but you will see kids like that though.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not at the mall like that. Second, how many we've had two shootings? Okay, we've had two regular shootings and one actual nigga with a sniper rifle shooting up Von Mar. We've had those at the mall. So I'm like, I'm prepared, but I don't always go there because I feel that I'm at a vulnerability at certain places. And that's not a place I want to go because I don't want to be vulnerable. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to be in a position where I can't see everything. I don't. Not that I'm a control freak. It's just the fact that I know there's certain positions where I could be vulnerable.
When is the last time you've been to a shopping mall?
6-7 months. And the last time I went, don't laugh, it was to sell a car. I didn't even go inside. I was in the parking lot. Last time I've been inside a shopping mall was with my kids, probably 7 months ago.
Did you see anything like what I'm talking about?
No, not negative kids. You saw kids together. They were having a good time walking around. Everybody was actually cool. But again, I live in a smaller city than you. You live in a much bigger city than I live.
I have been these kids before, but I knew the line.
I have not seen that line crossed. Now, I've seen it crossed when a mom don't discipline or a dad don't discipline that daughter or son. I'm like, hey, that's your fault. And if you don't hurry up, that's going to be the rest of the world's problems in 6-7 years. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't seen where straight up, and like I said, that roguish, we used to call that shit roguish. That roguish shit, you see it in L.A., other places. But even then, when I was in L.A., I'd be in Hollywood. I'd be in Van Nuys.
But see, the thing is, though, like, there, you would see roguish shit back in the day, but police would, like, put a clamp on that shit pretty fast.
It just depends on what part of town it is, because sometimes police don't go in certain parts of towns.
No, this is out West Roads I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
But see, here, the West Roads of Atlanta is Lenox Mall. And Lenox Mall now has metal detectors at every entrance and cops at every entrance now because knucklehead kids, high schoolers, messed it up.
That's another disaster that people are taking advantage of. When we were kids, they made a big deal about all the colors that certain colors that certain coats and things came in. Like, look, you guys, you don't like gangs, but you sell the paraphernalia. So, disaster capitalism is not just a natural disaster. Anything negative that can be exploited for money is a disaster capitalism situation that you need to be aware of.
So
that's what
to close this out, I want to say that when you're looking at the disaster of the fires, when you're looking at the disaster of North Carolina in the mountains from the hurricane, you're looking at Maui. Don't forget about Lahaina. Everybody keeps forgetting about that shit. When you're looking at Altadena and the black people who lost their homes there and the rest of the people who lost their homes in those fires, when you're looking at that, you're seeing the end result of a plan. You're seeing, well, I won't say end result. You're seeing about 3/4 of the way into the plan or the halfway point. So that disaster is just one step that's part of many steps in a big plan that's being controlled and executed by people with lots of money. And they have poor people doing their bidding, like you're seeing this dude with the UN debit card and the Home Depot blowtorch starting fires.
A lot of people will dismiss what we're saying because of the conspiracy part about who's setting the fires and the direct energy weapons and all that stuff. If that's what you want to hang your hat on and not look at all the other things as proof, then of course you'll be a skeptic forever. But recognize that it's just odd that these things happen the same type of way, and they all have an end that they want to establish. So I get it. Well, you're saying that it came from the sky. I don't give a fuck where it came from.
That's the whole thing I've been saying is that don't get caught up in this because it's part of a bigger plan. And you need to be looking at who is setting it off and who is actually bringing this plan together before it even gets there, before it's too late.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.